folks, it's Janek Gwizdala. It's the Janek Gwizdala podcast. I've been wanting to make this episode, this video, talk about this subject for such a long time. We are talking about octave pedals, Octaver, octave dividers for bass. I'm surrounded by them. I've got probably a dozen of them sitting here with me on the desk in various forms, various ages, from the absolutely brand spanking new to the totally vintage and unobtainium to the weird and wonderful, maybe completely out of everyone's price range, to the stuff that maybe you wouldn't think about using as an octave pedal. Anyway, I've also got my very first one that I ever had, which is, I think, maybe the first pedal I ever owned. Reveal that in a little while. And a couple of budget things as well that, for bang for the buck, could be right up your street. Before we get going, we are coming down the stretch to the launch of the new book, the Bassist's Book of Scales, Arpeggios, and Studies. The closer I get to the launch of this thing, and it's on pre-sale, it's all linked below. It comes out November 27th. The closer I get to the launch and putting the finishing touches on it before it goes off to print in a couple of weeks, I'm just like, oh man, and we could add that, we could add this, and I wasn't going to put modes in there. And maybe you're thinking, oh Christ, what kind of book with scales and arpeggios doesn't include modes? I was like, well, modes, if you take the major modes, it's just a major scale in a bunch of different places. But this book is also about fingering and about positioning and about where to play all those things on the neck. So I was like, okay, for sure I'm putting the major modes in there. And I was like, well, why aren't I putting all the modes of the harmonic minor and the melodic minor and the melodic major, and then modes of limited transposition and blah, blah. It just got I got way into the weeds on it and ended up just literally in the last week adding a ton more stuff to the book, literally another 100 pages of information or something like that. And sort of it's driving me absolutely mental, because doing fingering on notes on every single scale, which is what the book has. Every single scale and arpeggio and exercise has fingering on it. So that's been the biggest workload, but I really thought it was worth putting that extra information in there, add more value to the book, really make it exactly the thing I set out for it to be, which is like the reference manual when it comes to, so what is the second Messiaen mode, and how many transpositions are there of it, and what is the right fingering for the half whole or whole half or whole tone scale or whatever it is you want to reference. And it's really all in there. We're talking about Western music. There's no microtonal stuff. There's no Eastern stuff. It really is Western music. But man, is it an encyclopedia. All of that to say, it's all available for pre-sale below, linked in the video or wherever you are watching or listening. That gets you a signed physical copy. We ship all over the world, and the digital copy in a bundle. That ends November 26th. The book comes out November 27th. It's the promotional price for the pre-sale, and then the price will go up, and then I won't be bundling the digital and the physical after that. So let's get into bass octaves. Now we've got the plug for the book out of the way. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. Like I said, my very first pedal was an octave pedal. It's right here. I'm going to try and plug it in a minute, but I don't think it works anymore. It's missing a little bit of hardware on this side. It's a little sticky and beat up and old. It's an original. Was this the first iteration? I don't know. It's an EBS Octabass. And it was my first pedal. I guess it's got a clean and an octave blend, and that is about it. So what kind of chassis is it? It's a similar chassis, maybe the exact chassis as the MXR Bass Octave Deluxe, if you know that pedal, pretty popular pedal. You'll see people like Mike League using that. I use it on occasion as well. But yeah, that's my very first octave. Let me just see if there's any signs of life when I plug it in. I got a blink. And if I get a blink, it's worth seeing if I can get a sound. Let's see. No, it's just blinking. Oh, that's so sad. And it's one of those pedals I don't really know if I would want to go get it serviced just to... let's see what we got. Be nice if I had some sound somewhere. Wow, it's not even letting sound pass through it. So no, it's really cooked. That's too bad. So we're off to a we're off to a flying start here with no sound out of the first pedal. But this is really just for this is really just for nostalgia's sake. Sorry about that, people. If I remember, I'll edit out that sound, and then there'll be me going whoa with no sound. But I stupidly pulled a plug out of the socket with it all plugged in. So anyway, nostalgia kind of over. That was my first ever pedal. Maybe you have that. Get in the comments as to whether you have that and whether you know that was or not, whether this was the first iteration of the EBS pedal. I must have got this in 95 or 96, so it's close to being 30 years old. Let me know. Also, even before we get into all of this stuff I have not yet revealed to you, stuff maybe you haven't even seen before. What is your go-to Octave pedal? What brand, what model, what do you use it for? Get in the comments, let me know. And for sure, 100% guaranteed, I'm going to miss some because I simply don't own them. And you guys and girls out there are going to say, wow, why didn't you go with the blah, blah, blah? Simply don't have it. It's not like I haven't thought about a lot of them. There are a few kind of things like the microsynth, electroharmonics, and the POG, which can be used for octaves, which I don't own. To me, they're not like the classic straight up bass Octaver, but for sure you can use them for that. I don't have Mutron, for instance. I don't have the octave divider, that old classic sound from the 70s. So that is something you won't see on today's list, but I do have some nice vintage pieces, and we're not going to go in chronological order. We're going to go in whatever I decide to pick up. And right now I have in my hand, for no reason in particular, the Aguilar. I'm going to try and get it to focus in on that camera. The Aguilar Octamizer, the old one. I guess this is one of the first ones they did. Maybe even the first pedal they did. I don't remember. But yeah, that's the Aguilar Octamizer. Let's fire it up. I'm going to be playing the RKM double reverse P, in case you're not watching on YouTube. This is definitely one that if you're just listening somewhere, it's really worth going to YouTube to get the full experience, see all the pedals, see how I dial them in, and see the bass I'm using. Really simple signal chain, just the bass. I do have an HX Stomp, which we will investigate later as a digital Octaver, along with the Eventide H9. I do have that in my signal changer so I can mute and so I can tune. So let's unmute. Here's the RKM. Yes, that's all you're getting of the clean sound probably for the rest of the episode. And here we have, let's just set everything at 12 o'clock on the Aguilar and engage. Let's see what we get. I'm a huge fan when it comes to a pedal of just setting, like I'm doing right now, setting everything to 12 o'clock and seeing what that gives you, seeing what the company who made the pedal, do they give you something usable without having to go menu diving or deep diving in a manual. And that is not bad at all. That is a fat, pleasing octave sound. Go ahead and clear some of this crap out the way and feature the pedal in the video a little more. I don't know. How's this going to work? I do have the second camera running here, but I guess that's really just to hold stuff up and show you. It's really about the sound, and we'll get into use case as well and what I'm looking for in an octave pedal. That's something, again, get in the comments and let me know what you are looking for in an octave pedal. Some people are looking for a very accurate representation of the natural sound of the bass an octave down. I think more often than not, I have been looking for something that's a little more electronic and processed, somewhere in the sine wave region. So I can then process that with a fuzz or some sort of modulation to create synth-based sounds. And we'll get into like the Mantic Hulk, for instance, later. And I've got a vintage DOD FX32, the Meatbox here, which Juan Alderete turned me on to, and which, if you check out my album, let's see, It Only Happens Once from 2012, every time you hear sub bass on that record, it's all about the DOD FX32, the Meatbox. And I did have the reissue. They found some chips and made a reissue a few years back. I'm actually maybe 8 or 9 years back now. but I sold it once I got the Mantic Hulk. Like, to me, that was it. That was really the easiest and most, I think, clear. I think it just beat out the Meatbox for clarity in a big way, and especially for tracking when it comes to sub bass octave stuff. And again, I've talked about this a lot before. There is a big difference between, for me anyway, between sub bass or sub harmonic, which is what the Mantic or the DOD FX32 are, in my opinion. There's a lot of difference between that and octave and actual like tracking octave. So for me, the sub bass is more of a presence thing, a fattening of the low end. It's really specific in use case. The way I use it, it's not very defined in terms of, you know, I don't really play busy with an octave pedal or an octave sound anyway, but you definitely don't play busy or dense material with the sub bass. It's just a great way to lean into the low end underneath a band and really widen the sound. So that's kind of what I use it for. Let's mess. Of course, this video already has the potential to be, you know, 4 hours long. So let's get to some different sounds on the Aguilar Octamizer. Let's take actually all of the clean sound out. And that is what the octave sounds like on its own. So, and there's a filter on here which I kind of like. Woo! It would be, you know, to me, everything is more expressive with a filter. For the longest time, I had the Mogafuga, like the MF101, the low-pass filter. You know, after my octaves and fuzzes, my synth bass, you know, modulation, all that kind of stuff, to really, to really be, like I said, be expressive and kind of open up the sound at will. And so to me, it would be amazing. Maybe you can't do it on a pedal this size, but it would have been amazing, would be amazing. Aguilar, if you're listening, actually anyone, if you're listening and you have a filter option on your octave pedal, put an expression jack in there, because that's, you know, I quite like that. Imagine if you could just, I mean, I'm hammering on and like turning it with my hand here, but imagine if you could really work that filter. And then there's a clean tone. So if I bring the clean channel back in, yeah, okay. So sweepable tone, nice filter. To me, the sound of the octave is not what I'm looking for most of the time. It's not as electronic as I would like. And yes, eventually I will have put timestamps along the entire video so you can cross-reference and go back and forth and like, oh, what does that sound compared to the, you know, the Boss OC2 or the 3-leaf audio Octaver or, you know, so bear with me if you're watching this video or listening to this episode right as it comes out. There will be timestamps and you can compare and contrast all of these pedals at will. Okay, that's the Aguilar Octamizer. I want to say I use that on some more kind of pop things. It's pretty solid and pokey in the center of the note, and allowed me to like push in a big PA system. I wish right now there was an online chat and people could vote for what pedal went next. Where are we going to go? Let's, you know what? I did mention that there would be oh man, it's so dusty. I haven't used this in a long time. Shit, maybe I've never used it actually, but this is the the Ultra Octaver by Behringer. I think this is probably in the $20 to $40 range on Amazon. At least that's what I paid for it at some point. The UO300 Ultra Octaver. Let's see if we can get any joy out of this. I don't have high hopes. I can't remember the last time I used it. Let's once again set everything at 12 o'clock. There's a range button, low, mid, and high. You've got your direct, and you've got octave 1 and 2. So there are two. This is an octave divider. So there are 2 octaves in this one. Okay, let's unmute and... Well, I mean, to its credit, it is octave. It is boxy as hell. That's the mid. This is the low position. And this is the high position. So it's got 3 EQ notches, none of them particularly helpful. I have all of the direct signal out and trying to test that. Oh, I actually have both octaves turned up. Now I'm really trying to test that classic Jojo Mayer OC2 setting with just octave 1 and everything else out. No clean sound, no octave 2. So this is basically mimicking the so that's high, mid, and low. And it's basically mimicking the OC2. It's like just 3 knobs, although the OC2 doesn't have an EQ switch. The vintage bass octave does have a mid switch, which is I've always dug. Makes that pedal really versatile. Let's see what the 2 octave down gives us. Just kind of farty. Tracking is horrible. Even when I play up high. And if I bring some clean in, no, it's just farty. So octave 2, pretty useless. Let's have some direct signal and some octave 1. I mean, for $25, it's hard to argue with that, right? It does split the octave if you want it in a mix. Well, you know what? Something else I prepared earlier are some tracks I'm actually in the middle of, and I'm not ready to release this yet or even do a pre-sale. That's going to come in a couple of weeks. But I am in the middle of re-recording all the bass on Mystery to Me, my first album, which the 20th, it celebrates its 20th anniversary. The tracking day was November 4th, 2024. So here we are about to hit November 4th, 2004. We're about to hit 2024, November 4th. That'll be the official 20th anniversary of the tracking day. And we're doing a remix, a remaster. This will be the first time I press vinyl for any of my music. Seemed like a nice place to start. So I'm in the middle of re-recording all the bass, giving it a bit of a better shot, a better sound. Juan Pablo is mixing and mastering again. And it's super exciting, super fun to go back and play this. This is partially why all of these octave pedals were just out of my collection and available, because I was looking for sounds. You know, I had this Octabass, EBS Octabass. That's all I had on the original. Actually, you can go here. Yes, go listen to the original 20-year-old version of Mystery to Me on Spotify, and you'll hear the Octabass anywhere you hear octave. And you'll probably hear the DL4. I was very limited in my pedals. I had the DL4, the Octabass, and maybe the Boss bass chorus. So in order to give you guys something new, something fresh with this album, with this remix and remaster, I'm re-recording all the bass, and with it comes some really fun opportunities to record using some of these pedals that you're hearing today. So that's coming soon. We're going to do a pre-sale for that. It will be available around the holidays, around Christmas time. And it will be vinyl, and it will ship worldwide. I'm really excited. I've had so many requests over the years for vinyl for my music, and it's nice to actually be doing something specifically for that, a project that will be for that. It'll be on streaming as well, because there are going to be some bonus tracks, and obviously we can't fit the whole album on a vinyl, so it'll have a streaming component, a streaming companion. But the vinyl, it's something really special, and I have now rough mixes that I'm tracking to, so I can play along to those. And spoiler alert, I'm not using the Behringer Ultra Octaver on any of the record. But since I have it plugged in, let's see. It's not horrendous. I mean, I'm just listening to it in the in-ears right now and playing along, and it's usable again for $25. When you think that like this, is this the most expensive one? I think this original 3-leaf audio Octaver that I have is probably the most expensive one on the table right now. I think these are going for like $750. It's like unobtainium money on reverb.com. Yeah, when you think for $25 you actually get something that sits in a mix, it's not horrendous. We'll do some more playing with the tracks a bit later, but I was definitely curious as to whether that would sit in the right place, and it did. Good job. For the money. All right, Behringer, done. Where am I putting these? This is going to be a disaster if I don't keep track of all the ones I've done. All right, I'll start putting them over here. Where are we going to go next? Let's actually contrast the difference between an octave pedal, like the couple you've just heard, and a subharmonic. And I have two of these Mantic Hulks, and I plugged one of them in. This is the Mantic Hulk. Unbelievable pedal. One of my favorite pedals. Is always on my board now. I don't get to use it that often, but it's so great when I feel the need to just punch in that really low sub note. Let's give you a close up on this camera over here. It just feels so good, and it makes me play a little different as well. It like I was saying before, you don't play particularly dense or fast music when you're using this one. So it really makes me back off a little bit and listen to the bigger picture a little more. And let's contrast that. You've heard octavers, octave dividers. This is subharmonic. Already it's a wider, fatter sound, and it has less definition, less poke on the note. And I don't really have that much. Here we go. And just the touch is so different as well. Like if I play that same passage again from Mystery to Me, let's see. Totally different scene, right? And I'm playing totally differently. You have to trust me on that. The touch, the feel, the feedback into the fingers through the instrument is a completely different animal now. Even that is like too notey. Just so inspired to play long notes. I recently did a video in my series, like Could I Play Bass With series, and it was Lose Control by Teddy Swims, and I ended up using the Mantic on a lot of that. It really spoke to me in terms of like, long notes, really long, powerful notes, and no fills really. And it's nice to have the choice. That is a big difference to me between octave pedals and subharmonics. Let us continue. As I'm going here, I'm making all this shit up as I go along. As I'm going, I'm trying to figure out where I want to end up. And I'm looking at a lot of OC2 and OC2 clones. So maybe that is something we want to get into right after, something a little different. Let's go with the FMeron from Iron Ether. And while not a traditional octave pedal, this is a synth. This is an FM synth pedal, essentially. Not essentially. That's exactly what it is. But I absolutely use it in that zone, when I want something in the bottom end. Let's see here. This one I feel I can play more notey on, and it gets a couple of different versions of. It is kind of, it's a little tweaky when it comes to tuning. I think it's a bit more of a live pedal than it is a studio pedal. But if we go, what else do I have in here? Oh, yeah, I have the tune Time Stands Still from the Mystery to Me record. So crazy hearing the session after all these years. Yeah, not the right sound. Definitely not the right sound. But maybe in the comping, you know, this is something I've been going back and forth when it gets to a solo. Like, where's the guitar solo here? Again, not the most perfect thing, but you see how different it is. At least this is an example of how, you know, how different it is from the Octaver, from the other things we've heard, and how it still, you know, even though it might not be the right sound for this tune, how it still fulfills that role in the low end to a certain extent. And I haven't really opened up the synth part of it so much. This does have an expression input, so you can be really creative with how much you open up the filter or mix in the synth. Big fan of that. Clean blend. I don't think I held the pedal up for the camera, so for everyone wondering what's on this thing, here is your chance to check out the FMeron by Iron Ether. As you can see on the back panel, input for expression, and then you've got, you know, I love toggle switches. Anyone who watches the channel knows that. I love toggle switches. So you have octave ranges that you can work in. You can have clean blend, the amount of synth that are on two separate. It's not just a mix on one knob. It's separate mixes. You can have the synth mixes on one knob. Just a super versatile pedal for what it does. Kind of in the unobtainium category in terms of, yeah, you got to have a seriously deep pockets to get one of these now, because Iron Ether they really don't make that many of them. So they're on the secondary market and they're bloody expensive. Sorry about that. Although it's not my fault. I know some people are going to be going, damn, I love that sound, you know, as I did when I've heard with so many of these pedals, I've heard those, oh man, I want that. And then you go to reverb and you're like, oh crap. You know, there's, you know, got to get an extra paper route or something. So before we get into sort of the OC2 clone lane, let's go with another Iron Ether pedal, maybe even a little rarer and less in production, the Dubterranea. This has been around for a few years. With both this and the FMeron, the only way I was able to get them was that I was fortunate enough to be like on the beta testing team for Iron Ether. I got an advanced copy of this long before it was ever in production, and was able to give my feedback on the pedal. And yeah, as were a few other great bass players, and it was really fun to be a part of. And the byproduct is I got to get one, and I still have it. And I used it actually quite regularly for a long time. Not so much anymore, but as you are about to hear, it is a super cool pedal, and it has, you know, the whole point is that it has, the whole point of showing it to you is that not only is it a synth pedal, it does have kind of an OC2 circuit in it. Let's take out the clean, and I got to remember how to use this thing. It's been a while. let's see. Kind of take out all of the synthy stuff for now and go with the octave. And it's fat, you know. Maybe if we play the time stands still thing in the melody, it works. Tracking not amazing. I don't think I quite have it set up the right way though, but just as an octave pedal, it has some options. And where are we? We have when you drop the synth in, I mean, it's like it took me like months to get used to all of the different settings and the possibilities and find the thing I wanted to use it for. And I did end up using it on some recordings, and just a really nice piece to have. Again, not maybe the thing that you like, oh, you're grabbing it for every pedal board, but still has the dual grip on a dual lock on the back, and it's not going anywhere. So if you can get one online for absolute fortune, it will not be mine. Okay, we have a bunch of options here. I guess the least like the OC2. Let's do the bass octave deluxe first, because this is kind of it's a funky pedal. I should hold it up. Terrible YouTuber here. There it is, MXR Bass Octave Deluxe. I'm sure most of you, if you're a bass nerd like me, watching, you know this pedal very well. Super popular. I guess one of the most popular octave pedals out there. Not sure on price point. I shall endeavor to put the price of all of these things up on the screen if I can find it as we go through them. Let's do our every knob at 12 o'clock test. There we go. And it's fat. It's always been a nice octave pedal. It does exactly what it says on the box. And it tracks great. It feels really nice. And it's, in terms of controls, the growl, I'm just adding a little growl there. Take the growl out. And what else do we have? Girth. Are we widening? We are widening. If we take out all the dry, let's see what it's doing. Okay. So you're getting, it's getting close to that kind of sine wavy thing that I like. Still tracking well. There's a mid switch in here, so if we put everything at 12 o'clock, hit the mid. Oh Jesus, yeah. Okay, not so applicable, I don't think, but if I were to, let's go to a different song. Let's go to Circles. Oh shit, can I remember how to play this? It sits in the mix well. melody happens, it's all reharmonized. Let's take it out the dry. More growl and girth, and let's see if I can remember the chords. So yeah, I mean, that totally feels nice. Yeah, okay, I think it sounds good as well, but from a player standpoint, that feels nice. That like sits in the mix, feels like I have control. You know, it's a tune I haven't played in 20 years or something or more, and it's like thinking about chord changes and thinking about other stuff. What I wasn't doing was being consumed by the sound or by the effects or by the technical things going on around me. So that's always a nice feeling. Yeah, that's a good little example of getting towards, I guess we're heading in this direction of sort of my taste. Now, before I started recording today, I was telling a friend of mine, he's like, man, you have all the octave pedals there. I was like, yeah, as I explained earlier on in the episode, I don't have all of them. I'd love a Mutron. I'd love a few different things. A couple of things were recommended to me as recently as yesterday. I couldn't get my hands on them before this. But what I don't have anymore, and I got rid of so many of these. I used to have, I think, 20 or 21 of these. This is it. This is the daddy. This is the OG, the 1982 OC Octaver in this specific shade of brown with the R on the end of the word. Octaver OC2, made in Japan. Used to have like 21 of them or so. Not all of them Japanese, not all of them with the R. I had a bunch of ones with the R. Some of them I kept. I kept two really good examples, really clean examples. One with the original box. I kept this one, which is all beat up and missing a knob. That's a Taiwanese one, and that's because it was my first one. I kept that one. That's a Taiwanese one. And I kept another. Oh, no, this is actually a Japanese one. Kept another Japanese one, but it's a slightly, as you can tell, a slightly different shade of brown, a later production, one of the last runs they did in Japan. Yeah, I kept them for kind of posterity's sake. And I do have a couple of Taiwanese-made ones around here somewhere. The nerdiest of the nerds will notice on this one, silver screw. That's like a big thing on Boss pedals, except it's total bullshit on this one because it never came with a silver screw. This was never a silver screw categorized pedal. I just got an aftermarket one because on this one, the one I like the sound of the most, there was like a wood screw stuck in there when I bought it used in like Boise, Idaho or something on the road 20 years ago. So there were some aftermarket Boss silver screws that I bought because I thought it looked kind of cool. So that is a little Easter egg for anyone who cares. And this, if you're new to the channel, maybe you haven't heard this story before, didn't know this, but MXR, when they bought out the vintage bass Octave, borrowed this exact silver screw, quote unquote silver screw, bullshit silver screw pedal. They borrowed this one, my original Octaver from 82, the original run of Boss Octavers. They borrowed this one to clone, to put in the vintage bass Octave. So that is something that's super cool because the chassis on this obviously is so much smaller. I rarely use the OC2 on the road anymore. They rarely leave the house. It's more of a studio pedal. The tracking on the MXR vintage bass Octave, again, not a commercial for any of this shit, but the tracking is definitely better. On here, it's tiny. It's the one I use on my board. I have 2 or 3 of them around the studio. One is permanently on each of my 2 pedal boards. We'll go, maybe that is the last one. Maybe that's my favorite. And I've already given it away that it is my favorite. But let's plug in the classic OC2. Let's do that. Let's go here and here and here. And this is also the classic setting. Hey, I've actually got a double of this so I can hold one up while the other's plugged in. This is the setting, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone who's curious. This is the Jojo Mayer setting on the OC2. He's the one who showed this to me, to Tim LaFave, to Yossi Fine, to John Davis. Maybe those guys knew about it before Jojo, but he definitely showed it to a bunch of us that played in his band in Nerve back in the day. That's the setting. Octave 2 all the way out, direct level, clean sound all the way out, and Octave 1 maxed out. that gives you dun, 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 my favorite sound. Oh, how dirty is that? Wow, having said all that, this needs some serious help. Wow. Oh dear. Listen to... Oh, is that a cable or is it the pedal? No, we haven't had any noise on any of the other pedals. I think it's the pedal. It's just dirty. Wow. There you go. Now, you may be saying like, wow, actually, I preferred some of the other sounds. Holy shit, did the Behringer sound better than the OC2? It's all subjective, right? And maybe in your world, that's what works. And hey, good for you, because you can go out and get one for $25 or something crazy right now. You don't have to spend upwards of $450 for one of these. You know, I think the market has dipped a little bit. I did sell a lot of these at the peak. And if you know, back in the day, if you had, and I mean like 3 years ago, literally, if you had original box, like box and papers with an Octaver with the R on the end, you get $600 plus. I think they're hitting around $450 now for really good examples. But if you prefer the Behringer, holy shit, you get a big discount on your sound right now. For me, there's something squeezy and spongy. It's really, I have this conversation with Anders Mattisson all the time. Like, it's really weird to describe sounds with words, but for want of a better option right now, I would say it's kind of spongy and squeezy with the feel. That's what I like about it. Not only that, but I do dig the sound. Let's play a little more circles here. Especially, like, that's Jojo Mayer playing drums. That's Mark Turner, by the way, on tenor saxophone. I didn't even introduce the band, so to speak. It was an amazing band with Gretchen Parlato, with Greg Wamare, with Elliot Mason, Jojo Mayer, Tim Miller, Mark Turner, John Ellis. It was really quite the treat to be in the studio all those years ago with those beautiful people and incredible musicians. So to be playing again along with Jojo, who I actually just spoke to the other day. We had a really nice video call. Maybe we're going to do some playing together next year again, which would be fantastic. Do some recording. But to be hearing his drums that I'm so used to. I've been playing with him for such a long time. And to be using the OC2 is an amazing marriage of sound and concept and everything I love about music. And specifically, as we're talking here today about octave pedals. So that's the OC2. I have a massive amount of information on the OC2, even a dedicated like 15-minute video on the history of it on my channel. Just go search it. I think it's called the OC2. Is it the King of the Octavers? Something like that. I had to make some title out of it. Now, a lot of you out there are also, I'm sure, going to be saying, well, what about the OC3 and the OC5? Well, the OC3, to me, pointless. I never liked that pedal. Never dug the sound. It was not an upgrade of any kind as far as I'm concerned to the OC2. I do have an OC5. I personally don't dig, although it's a modernized and updated thing, I don't dig the sound of the OC5 as much as the OC2. I guess we will plug it in. I was on the fence as to whether we would. Let's see, we've got output and input. Let's see what we got. It has other features though, stuff that, has like a polyphonic thing as far as I remember. Let's see here. Does it switch on? It does. Or it doesn't. Are we plugged in? Hello. There we go. So it does have options. Let's see. Do I have it set up as kind of the vintage sound? It has a poly thing. Yeah, it's, it does have some things for chords that are, again, maybe you're out there saying, whoa, well, that sounds bigger and fatter, and the signal strength is definitely stronger. I'm purposely not going to change the level of the bass on this entire episode so you get a realistic, idea of the difference in signal output between all of these things. I'm also not going to compress anything. So what you will be listening to in the mix, aside from like the overall sound of the podcast having a mastering plug-in on it, from sound to sound, it's going to be the same thing. Let's maybe play a little more of this song with this in the mix so you can hear. I'm totally lost I'm lost as to where the time is. Yeah, so it's another flavor. It's different. Again, the signal output is a little stronger, but feeling-wise, it's completely different under the fingers, and that is what matters most to me. And so that's it. The OC3, I just wouldn't bother with, and there are other things that I haven't mentioned. We haven't got into the multi-effects thing yet, and we are going to look at the Octamizer block in the HX Stomp, because Line6 did attempt to do a copy of that. Let's see here. What have I got to do to plug that in? We'll prep it with, we're going to look at the Octaver here. This is from 3-Leaf Audio. This is the original one in the big chassis, the white one. Has some, I think, a couple more features, one or two more features maybe than the miniaturized one that they do now. Love the sound of this. I used it on one of the re-records of the bass lines for Mystery to Me, so that will be on the record a little bit. Really nice sound. And I guess I used this actually a few days ago when I was doing a little demo of the 3-Leaf Audio Doom 2, and I used the Octaver with it. And somebody commented that on the left side of the tone is the OC2, and on the right side of the tone is the Mutron. So now I know that, and I guess that's a blend of the two. Okay. Let's see. And you can turn up the sub a little. Or you can turn the sub off. Nice. And there's a mix. So completely clean to completely wet. I keep going back to wanting to find something that works for Time Stands Still. That's too aggressive. That's actually the best one yet for that tune. And you see how, my favorite one's the OC2, but actually for certain tunes, you need something a little different. And that just highlights how I didn't really find it with the OC2, but I did find it with the 3-Leaf Octaver. This is not a license to just say, oh yeah, well, Janek said I need 7 different octave pedals. No. Don't waste your money. But when you do have a legitimate musical reason to do something, definitely consider it. Don't beat yourself. Don't beat yourself up trying to get the sound out of a thing that just isn't made to do it. It's a fine line, a totally fine line, but it's there. Let's see. We are gonna. I really want to do the digital one. We're gonna get to a couple more really important octaves, but if I go in here to pitch, mono, and is it in pitch and mono? See, maybe not. It's in legacy. The bass, well, bass Octaver. Let's try that one first. Let's turn off. Okay, so this is digital now. This is the Line 6. This is the HX Stomp. It'll be the same for the Helix, for all of those sounds. And in terms of the settings, I can completely take out the clean sound. Let's try and get that OC2 thing and turn up the octave. I'm not actually sure. I don't think the bass Octaver is the OC2. It's the Boctaver, the OC2. As an official Line 6 nerd, I should know these things. Again, it's a thing that the low end is there, right? There's definitely something going on. It sits in the mix. It tracks okay. Even down to a B flat there. Damn. We want some more definition. Bring in the clean. And it doesn't do that thing of glitching between notes when you play. You still have to be clean with your technique, but it's less glitchy when you play intervals, which is nice. So yeah, there are positive things I think to be found in everything, all the way from the Behringer through the fancy stuff like the 3-leaf to the Line 6. There are things you can use it for that make musical sense. Bass Octaver. And where's the Boctaver? I'm pretty sure there's one called Boctaver. Maybe I'm just totally crazy. And where the hell would that be? I bet there are people watching or listening going like, dude, it's the same thing. What are you talking about? Or you're watching saying, no, it's right over there and you've just missed it and you've gone past it like 8 different times. So, yeah. I tell you what, actually... with the simple pitch, I've done this before for sure. I have set it down, just down an octave with a simple pitch, and that has what sounds like a little bit of modulation on there, and turn the mix up a little bit. I don't know why that's wobbling so much. What have we got going on there? I don't know. I don't know that one too well, but I have done that one. I mean, that's not horrendous. That's a pretty fat low end, 2 octaves down. When you have the mix not all the way up, you get some clean sound, and you get some support from the sub octave. So yeah, all of this to say, don't sleep on any of these options, and you don't have to spend, $750 on reverb for the unobtainium 3-leaf audio Octaver original jobby like that. Please don't send me emails or ask to buy it. It's crazy. That is amazingly the pedal people contact me and ask if they can buy the most out of any of the pedals I have. 300 freaking pedals in this room. That's the one people want. Incredible. Something I don't have is the power supply for the DOD FX32. So you're just going to have to go back and listen to It Only Happens Once, my album from 2012. That's all FX32 every time you hear a sub-octave. But because we have the Mantic, you've basically heard, in my opinion, what you need to hear in terms of sub-octave. This thing is amazing. Again, not sponsored. Didn't get this for free. I bought 2 of these bad boys, and I cooked one. Unfortunately, I need to get that other one repaired. Right before we get to my pick of picks here, let's go with this, the Octave, the Pearl OC07. Pearl OC07, Japanese made, This one is mint condition, as you can see. Got the original box, an insane pedal. I only realized recently that, and maybe it wasn't done consciously, but it's definitely conceptually what the old TC Electronic sub and up ended up being. I don't know if they even make that anymore. But yes, you can totally get the OC2 sound if I take all the octaves out except the one octave. And it's the one that comes closest to the spongy / floppy thing that I love about the OC2. I might put these on an even par, actually. Those might be my two favorite ones when it comes to vintage. I can mix in some natural sound. Very nice. It has an upper octave, which gives me this super synthy vibe, which with a filter, delicious. Again, the octave, the second octave down, not as useful. But also not useless either. When you figure out something to do with it, you can absolutely find a use case for that. I am a big fan of this, of that upper octave. Even just have it like a 50%. Really, really nice. Just again, a luxury for me to have all of these different options, and again, just options, just different flavors. And here we go. This is the one that I was on the fence about. If I had something important to talk about, I would probably definitely consider firing it up, or be more motivated to fire it up than I am right now. Come on. Okay, let's do it. Let's not fuck around. Let's do it. Let's connect via Bluetooth. It's the Eventide H9. I'll hold it up over here because it's plugged in. It's the Eventide H9. You got to connect via Bluetooth, and if you really want to get into the pedal, I guess. How are we going to do this? We'll put it all the way over here. And I'm sort of only guessing with this one that there is a pitch shifting element to it. Maybe again, you're like screaming at me like, what are you doing with that? That's not what it's for. Okay, pitch factor, diatonic, these are all Octaver, there it is. So we've got some presets here. It comes with presets. I will give it that. I do not like the app thing and the lack of like the lack of usability on the user interface. Let's see what we got right out of the gate. I mean, it's kind of fun. Okay, these are all presets, by the way. Oh, that is pretty aggressive, but not horrible. That's throaty bass. Not horrible. I will say the feedback from it, the touch under the fingers is not horrible. But you are looking at, it's an Eventide H9 maxed out. I want to say it's in the 700s plus range, 750. Is that what they are? Crab bass. Yeah, not so usable. I guess once you get in and adjust all of these, you can dial some stuff. This is called Classic Octaver. I have high hopes for this. Okay, yeah. I'm just using presets. Octabvre. Okay, bass voweler. So it feels like the presets are way more tuned towards synth bass when it comes to the Octaver and the Eventide H9. And I can't say I can't say I wouldn't use these. Like, these could work on certain things. Sure, why not? Dirty vocals? I don't know. Is there some octave situation in there? Well, that's the Eventide H9. Again, it's the app thing. I'm not a massive fan of having to fire that up. And it's a very expensive pedal. I mean, it does have nice sounds. Eventide make really nice algorithms. The downside is that you can only play one at a time with this, with the H9, which is kind of a bummer, unlike the HX Stomp, where you can have 8 blocks. And here we are. This is it. This is no surprise, I'm guessing, to anyone who watches the channel on any sort of regular basis. You see this pedal all the time in my setup. It's the vintage bass Octave by MXR. And it is, again, based on literally my personal OC2 Octaver from 1982 from Japan. That's what they used to clone to put in here, at least partially. I'm sure there were other considerations, but that's the sound. And I can report that the two do feel very, very alike. The clone job was successful. Let's just say that. Right now I have classic OC2 setting. Yeah, if I unmute. There's just something about, there's a tiny piece of like nasal mid-range. The output isn't as huge on this one. It does have a mid-notch. Give it some more poke. And then it does, I think it makes a good sort of funky Octaver as well. With the growl, with the bite. Something I associate more with the Bass Octave Deluxe, the other MXR pedal, the other blue, slightly larger one. I associate more that kind of funkier sound. I know I've heard Mike Lee using that. I've said that before with Snarky Puppy. Yeah, I dig this in a big way. I think it's super versatile. I use it for a bunch of different things, not just the OC2 sound. But here's what that sounds like. Here's what that sounds like in a mix. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's weird hearing your voice from 20 years ago. Be like, oh, fuck, that's what I sound like. It never changed. It never gets easier to listen to your own voice. It just feels good to play. Of course, you all, ladies and gentlemen of the bass world, are going to make up your mind as to what you like the sound of. Just remember that that is only one part of the equation. It's one consideration, and it's something that, yeah, it's not the only thing at the end of the day, because you have to play it, and the feel will affect your note choice big time. Trust me on that. I'm sure you are already well aware of that, actually. The feel of anything will affect your note choice and the way you play, and your kind of outlook in the situation, your level of sort of commitment to being unconscious in a certain sense. Like, that's how I try and play, is totally unconscious and just not thinking about anything, not just really being in the center of the music. And anything that helps me do that better is a massive win. So there you have it. Long one. Don't forget the new book, the Bassist Book of Scales, Arpeggios, and Studies, is available for pre-sale. Signed copies down below in the description of the video. That ends November 26th, The book launches officially the 27th. Our physical books will ship all over the world. All the pre-sales will ship. Then it will be available on Amazon. It will be available digitally. I will make a bunch of videos about the material and help you out with extracurricular activity on that front. It's been a blast putting it together. I've learned a lot. I've consolidated a lot of information into one place, which helped me actually kind of compartmentalize all of those things, all those elements of music that I've been using for so long, but never really put all in the same place at the same time. So not only will it help people who read it, it's helped me in a big way putting it together. And that's it. Again, get in the comments about your favorite octave pedals. What were some glaring holes in the lineup here? Obviously, the Mutron and some electroharmonic stuff, the POG, obviously those were missing. Some things I just simply don't own. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, your feedback. It's always appreciated. I always try and get to all of the comments and give an answer. That's it. Really appreciate you spending some of your insanely precious time with me, talking about music, nerding out over octave pedals today. I'll see you guys soon.